Jumping over obstacles, still cool. Never losing character, still cool. Wait, let me check my temperature, still cool. You feel us, but we don't feel you. Can't you see I'm working? Leave a message. I don't know what you be expecting. Y'all been sleeping on.
This is a 2016 BMW S1000RR Swingarm, obviously stock. And our customer wants a Swingarm made 6 inches longer. The guy is into roll racing, so he currently has a Swingarm on his bike that's 16 inches over, which is more appropriate for drag racing. So what I do is I take dimensions from the stock arm and I make one. Since this is a one-off arm, there's not necessarily a jig that I have set up for it like I would a Hayabusa or a ZX14 arm. But I know that I'm at 23 inches here, and so you add 6 inches to that, and the overall length of that arm, considering all of these parts, will be, like I said, 6 inches longer. There's geometry that you have to be mindful of. This is where your shock linkage would connect to the arm. So one end passes through the bolt, the other end is threaded, so I have to find that thread, make that portion and whatnot, weld that on. But what I'm gonna do for this guy is I'll make his arm with an integrated air tank. So this would be your swing arm pivot where the swing arm connects to the frame of the bike. The rear wheel would obviously be back here. And so this is where the shock linkage would be, this section. And I'll integrate an air tank into the arm for an air shifter. He chooses to use one, and that would be here. And so actually, by adding that, I'm adding another support beam for that length. Arms this short usually don't need under bracing. So some of the swing arms that we've done, you'll notice a brace on the bottom side of it, and that's because of the extraordinary length. All of this is drawn out, the exact length and width, and where I'm gonna put my shock linkage, all of that geometry is drawn out in 2-dimension because I needed this. This little piece of paper is gonna be what allows me to dictate the angles on my stock aluminum. So when I go to measure this out, the raw material, I know how long my leg is gonna be. (17 3/4). This little piece of paper, this valuable little piece of paper, will allow me to lay out exactly how much length I need so that when I go to cut these angles, I have the length that I need. So this is going to be the angle that I cut out here. There's an angle that I'll cut out for this portion, and my overall length, whatever that needs to be, will be chopped somewhere in this area. So I guess in the next stage I'll show what it looks like once I've chopped everything up. I've cut my appropriate angles in the arm. I can lay it out on the table, clamp it where it needs to be, and start tacking everything together. Most of my pieces are ready to start welding together. Come closer. I'll show you all a trick in that I can weld these things together without having to make a jig. And so it'll probably puzzle you how you can make something that's square and straight, flat, without having a pre-made jig for it. And that goes back to some of my work history. Years ago, I used to work for a company that would produce aircraft maintenance stands. And if you ever consider what it takes to change a helicopter blade from a Chinook, or some tall aircraft that needs maintenance on the top side, you obviously need a platform, a ladder system that will allow you to lift materials to the top of the aircraft, as well as being able to set these materials evenly. So one day you might build a part for a Chinook, another day it might be a stand to hold blades for a propelled plane. It could be a lot of different things. So this company didn't necessarily have a system where you would have a jig, because what they did day to day was different. So you would actually have to lay out on the floor or on very large tables your plumb line and whatever you needed, so that this stand could be made evenly and obviously safely. And so my experience working with this company that built these aircraft maintenance stands, it made my production time shorter whenever I make these extended swing arms, because I obviously took those techniques and just shrunk it down to be appropriate to this. So this is the table that I use to make swing arms, and it's basically just a slab of 1/4 inch thick steel, and there's a center line that I've scored along this table. That center line is my home. So as long as I know where the center of the swing arm is, I obviously have a flat table. So in 3 dimensions, I can ensure control over my arm, the length, the width, the height, and make sure that everything is flat. So now that everything is basically cut out, you know, my swing arm pivot, this is the linkage for the shock, and there'll be a portion welded under it that allows the shock linkage to connect. This is a middle section that will double as an air tank. So what I'm about to do now is basically do a 1/8 MPT thread, and this will allow you to install air fittings for your air shifter. One fitting will fill the tank, the other fitting will allow you to have a gauge, and that fill line will also double as the line that goes to your solenoid for the air shifter, so that you can have automatic shifting. So that's this stage. Next stage, I'll show you what I'm doing as far as the welding and how I line everything up. But stage 2, everything's cut basically. One of the ways I figured out to keep these arms lighter is, instead of having a billet end welded to the end of the arm, I create a sleeve, and I have a block that's threaded for the axle adjuster screw. So essentially what you have is an adjuster that allows you to set your chain tension. So when I weld in these sleeves, I get the thickness that I need for the strength. I have a good solid block in here with the appropriate thread for the set screw for your axle adjuster. And I can come in after the fact and machine out my slot so that your rear wheel axle can go through here. And obviously I'm doing both sides at the same time to keep everything even and symmetrical. So once I've welded in the sleeves on both sides, I'll cut my tack and split the arm apart, and then I can start laying the arm out while I weld in the cross members and basically get the thing structurally set. So we'll attempt to show a TIG weld through Megan's welding hood. Flip it to the other side, and everything I'll do when I do these welds, I try to do everything symmetrically because metal likes to cool. So everything wants to warp toward the heat, and then it contracts. So wherever your heat is, it warps and then it contracts. It pulls together, because that's what things do when they get hot and cold. They shrink. So if this side heats up and contracts, I'll do the other side, and this side, that side, that side, that side, and so forth. So I'll show you the next stage once we machine this slot out, show you that stage, and then show you how I lay this out. And from there, that'll pretty much be it.
We just getting started. Them boys done went heartless. You best approach them with caution. Lifestyle so lawless. We putting on and you know it. Just stay in your place and stay out the way when I'm zoning. I'm zoning, yeah. Stay out my way when I'm zoning. Stay out my way when I'm zoning. Stay out my way when I'm zoning. Girl, you caught up in the moment. Stay out my way when I'm zoning. Yeah, stay out my way when I'm zoning. Yeah, stay out my way when I'm zoning. Stay out my way when I'm zoning. I saw la way go. I saw la way go. Hasta luego, hasta luego. Yeah, y'all in the way though. Why you distracting? Why you gotta hate though? Bad bitch on the way though. Looking like Holly, looking like Dej Low. My chips on the table. If I lose, trust me, I'ma make more. Man, y'all gotta make goals. Y'all gotta do that shit when you say so. Put on my whole state though, this that. Put on my whole state flow, this that. Get out of my face flow, this that. Speed up the whole pace flow, this that. First base, second base, third base, back to home base flow. If you in your zone, what is the chase for? When you wake up, what do you pray for? Where did your day go? We just getting started. Them boys done went heartless. You best approach them with caution. Lifestyle so lawless, we putting on and you know it. Just stay in your place and stay out the way when I'm zoning, yeah. Stay out my way when I'm zoning, stay out my way when I'm zoning, stay out my way when I'm zoning. Girl, you caught up in the moment, stay out my way when I'm zoning, yeah. Stay out my way when I'm zoning, yeah. Stay out my way when I'm zoning, stay out my way when I'm zoning. Hasta luego, hasta luego. Hasta luego, hasta luego. Plate filling up, hate building up. Can't build with us, you ain't real enough. I am A1, that is real as fuck. You are man-made. Genesis, I am handmade. It's a difference. All my day ones with the business, bro. We too serious. You just curious. You just envious. You wanna win with us. Play too full to hate with you. Way too full to play with you. Slow people can't act smart. Smart people can't play a fool. I done had to focus. I done had to rope this. I done had to boss up and make the moves.
You see how it's got that black on there? There's aluminum stuck to that. So the argon that you hear coming out, the argon's creating a protective shield so that no oxygen can get inside of that molten circle. But because there's aluminum stuck to tungsten, there's contamination within that circle. Right. And roll your foot, yeah, there you go. Good. There you go. A little higher. Back off your foot. Move the heat to the other side. Did you get shocked?
Yeah. I had to push away stupid shit. You just gotta walk away and play it cool. Too cool to be heated all the time. Weak people get defeated all the time. Me, I'm just a fucking leader all the time. Yeah, I say it and I mean it all the time. Time change, but the drive never does, never does. Zoning on you.
Okay, so here's the finished product with the S1000RR Swingarm for road racing. So, it's aluminum and with an integrated air tank. And how many inches?
6 to 8 over stock.
6 to 8 over stock, a total wheelbase of, anybody know? 66. Okay, so 65. Okay. And it will get its engine back soon. Hopefully. Yes.
Fuckers every time I hit a gear. Think you mad now? Wait about a year. Let me make it clear. Zilla. We just getting started. Them boys done went heartless. You best approach them with caution. Lifestyle so